Hello everyone, Lewis from Scrubwood Studios here with very special review video, because this time I'm going to be, well, not reacting because again I've already seen it, but reviewing the series that inspired Prehistoric Valley. Well, partially. Dinosaur Island did as well, and bits of various other Dinotube shows went in, but the one that had the biggest influence and the one that inspired me to actually start my channel was this series right here, Mesozoic Isle by Kikizilla 101. So, before we get into this, I'd just like to quickly say, if you haven't seen this before, I'd highly recommend you both watch episode 1 here and the prologue before you actually watch this video, because it supports the original creator and Kiki deserves all the love and support for this. I'm just here to do the review. So without further ado, let's get into it. I do really like this intro. Like, it's obviously an homage to the Walking with Dinosaurs intro, but it's done very well in my opinion, with the layers.
Previously, on the prologue episode of Mesozoic Isle, we explored the significance of dinosaurs in the setting of a museum. And then we discovered that dinosaurs are no longer a thing of the past, as we are introduced to the inhabitants of Mesozoic Isle. We also learned about the large-scale and top-secret operation behind these islands, and how this is all possible. But now, with that all out of the way, it's time for the real show to finally begin.
Narrated by Mandy Serkis.
These are the waves of the Pacific Ocean.
Directed by
A grand, expansive canvas of blue. Shrouded in mystery, our world's oceans hide many secrets. However, not all of these secrets are hidden beneath the waves. Sometimes, to find its most incredible secrets, all you need is to look up.
Music's great. Quite reliant on stock footage at this point, but hey-oh, kind of have to be.
These are the shores of Mesozoic Isle.
Especially if you don't live
An island of wonder, mystery, and deception.
near the sea.
From here, the island can appear normal.
Now, one thing I will say real quick is, a lot of the stock footage looks very different, but canonically, Mesozoic Isle is meant to be quite a big island with a lot of different environments on it, so that actually makes sense, so I'm actually going to say that's a good thing.
But looks can be deceiving. This island is ruled by creatures that went extinct millions of years ago, and they are now back thanks to incredible advances in science. But now we head inland to discover our destination, the place where our story begins. A wide forested valley, crawling with dinosaurs. Down in this dim, hidden world, you are exposed to much danger.
Don't know if you can see it, but I'll highlight it in editing. There's a cow that slept past Kiki in editing, and I think there might be another one somewhere, and I think, was it Dino Man who named them? I can't remember what he named them, but I'm pretty sure he did, so yeah, that's a fun little detail.
And lurking amidst these trees is a carnivore. One of the largest and most fearsome predators to ever walk the planet.
utterly terrifying.
However, this is just a baby. His name is Redtooth, and he is a young Tyrannosaurus. For an animal with the destiny to grow into the king of the dinosaurs, Redtooth wasn't given a very strong start. He, like so many other dinosaurs on Mesozoic Isle, was created in a lab and released onto the island, meaning that he never got the chance to grow up with a family. This puts him at a dire disadvantage in experience, comfort, and protection. His chances don't look good.
I like the way that Redtooth, like the camera here in this first person shot, jerks around a lot. It kind of gives the impression of a sort of a wary young animal, and I like that. It gives Redtooth a bit of character.
But the importance of his future is larger than anything he could imagine, and would have great impacts on the island. That's if he can survive long enough to do so.
Right, now we've got a really nice chase scene with lots of fast-paced shots and the camera charging through the brush. And the music is really fast-paced as well, which really fits it.
Redtooth will soon learn that even for a Tyrannosaurus, when you're this small, there's very little that won't try and kill you. But that's just how life is on Mesozoic Isle, where only the fittest will survive.
Right, now we get to the second intro, which I like even more. It uses the Dinosaur Revolution theme song, but I actually think it works better here than in the original documentary. Mesozoic Isle. I love this series.
This region is but one of many on the massive island of Mesozoic Isle. But there is one place in particular we will explore. A small
I will say the map doesn't feel quite as high quality as almost everything else does. Like, pretty much everything else in this series feels like it could be a real documentary. The map looks a bit cartoony to me.
Territory on the upper southeast side of the island. This place is almost entirely cut off from the rest of Mesozoic Isle, and is where our story will begin. Surrounded by a formidable barrier of 4 mountains and a massive dense wall of trees, this ecosystem is a hidden fortress, a large bowl-shaped valley. Its name is Hidden Valley.
Now, here's an interesting thing. This is what gave me the idea for, like, the fact that I didn't need to be on an island to be isolated from the rest of the world. Because Hidden Valley is, like, completely isolated from the rest of the island. And it was that gave me the idea to have my entire dinosaur series take place in a valley. Otherwise, I probably would have defaulted to an island, to be honest with you. So you have this series to thank for Prehistoric Valley's location.
The location is not the only unique thing about Hidden Valley. The ecosystem's assortment of fauna in the form of mesospecies are particularly interesting. There's an abnormally large variety of animals that can be found here in Hidden Valley. This mother and son iguanodon have fallen victim to the labyrinth of trees that guards Hidden Valley, and have wound up lost within its grasp. Thankfully, their bond is strong. They are inseparable. But the mother hasn't yet realized the danger this place holds.
Do like that shot of Rex hiding behind the fern?
Mother begins to feed, completely unaware that they are being watched. Curious, her son explores the forest floor.
And here we get Rex's theme
But he goes
song.
just too far. By the time the mother heard his cries, it was too late.
Lovely use of the articulated jaw there, but wonderful puppeting. Really like that.
His mother, devastated. The killer, an adult male Tyrannosaurus primus, named Rex. One of the oldest dinosaurs on the island, he is extraordinarily experienced. Even when protected by his mother, the youngster had little chance against such an impressive carnivore. But Hidden Valley has yet more impressive secrets to be revealed. Now we reach the heart of this territory, Hidden Lake. The water supplied by this lake is the lifeblood of all animals who reside here. At some point or another, everyone comes to visit the lake. The mother iguanodon, too, comes to join the quench.
Once again, the music fits perfectly. It's very peaceful in comparison to the scene we just saw. But it is going to change when a certain character shows up.
Even during the darkest of times, this lake acts as a refuge for the animals of Hidden Valley. Something they can depend on. A reliable source of water poses possibly the greatest sense of hope that these animals can receive. Still heavily distraught from the loss of her son, even simple everyday tasks like drinking become hard. Everything feels empty without him, but an inner force drives her to keep going. This mother is a welcome survivor. However, not every visitor to the lake is a welcomed one.
And now the music changes.
The king of Hidden Valley has arrived. At over 40 feet long, this is Blue. A massive male Giganotosaurus totutamus and the apex predator of Hidden Valley.
So, for those who don't know, this is Blue, spelled B-L-U. He was the inspiration for Gigabyte in Prehistoric Valley, even being played by the same figure, although his Carnegie Giga was, at this point, in much better condition than mine. And he is quite possibly my favourite character in any DI-type series, simply because of the way he's presented on screen. He has such a presence to him. His theme song fits him so well. And the very deliberate movements of his puppeting, I think, also works really well. The way the other characters behave around him says more than words in the narration ever could. Like, it really gives the impression that this is his valley. The others just live in it.
Even the mother iguanodon knows that everyone respects his space, and nothing stands in his way.
It's also quite unique to have your apex predator in a series like this not be a T-Rex, to be honest.
But as intimidating as Blue is, an apex predator is critical to the health of any ecosystem. By early afternoon, we catch up with Redtooth, who is searching for a meal. Being a Tyrannosaurus forterius means that Redtooth was born in a lab, raised in a confined enclosure, and never had a family. Despite his rather urgent need for responsibility, Redtooth, fittingly for his age, would rather play around for a bit. Redtooth is a very special Tyrannosaurus, as the Forterius species is what is known as a repair species, meaning his genes hold the future of his entire genus, and it's extremely important that he grows to be able to pass them on. But there's a lot to learn before he can do so, and he needs to realize that he isn't going to be getting help from anybody. Hidden Valley has maintained a beautifully balanced ecosystem for nearly a decade without fail. However, the recent winds carry with them a sense of change. Something's brewing in the distance. A force only delayed by time itself. A force destined to arrive. A force that will change Hidden Valley forever. Briskly moving through the underbrush, we find George, a Gorgosaurus. He's on the trail of something. He knows it's here. He just needs to see it. There it is, a lone Vegaceratops. Something must have separated him from the rest of his herd. He may have become ill and disoriented. Either way, he is definitely lost. And it hasn't gone unnoticed. Alone and vulnerable, he must keep his wits about him. But his compromised judgment betrays him. It's bold for a Gorgosaurus to take on a Ceratopsian. But his weakened prey barely puts up a fight.
Nice jam gore there. Very good.
A disabling bite to the hindquarters, and a paralyzing bite to the neck. Yet George still finishes the job.
Not a fan there of how both feet stomp into shot. If I could, I would have had just one, because that seems more natural. Like, if you look at the way real animals walk, they don't lift both feet off the ground at the same time, obviously. Just a minor critique.
George doesn't enjoy his prize for long. A newcomer, not from around here. And guests are not tolerated. This Albertosaurus knows better than to hang around. At least not while George is. By nightfall, George has already eaten his fill. He heads away from the carcass to rest for the night.
Perhaps not the most convincing night
But with
filter,
morning's
but
arrival
hey.
comes an unpleasant awakening. The Albertosaurus is back. If a warning wasn't enough, then they'll just have to fight. A scavenger seizes his moment.
Fun fact, this little green scavenger is actually a hybrid called Bora Venator. The greatest hunter, I believe, is what that's meant to mean. And yet we see it scavenging, not hunting. But there you go, there's a fun bit of trivia which I found pretty funny when I saw it in the credits.
The Albertosaurus becomes distracted. A critical mistake. The fall may have broken her ribs. Despite George's victory, his effort was in vain. All of the most valuable organs on the carcass are gone, and while there is more to be eaten, George knows well that larger carnivores are bound to show up. It simply isn't worth the risk of hanging around any longer.
I feel like it would have made more sense if George had grabbed as much meat as he can and then cleared off, before, like, Rex or Blue shows up.
And once again, George searches for his next meal. A Saltosaurus is a rare sight on this side of the island, rarer still in Hidden Valley. In fact, sauropods in general are rare here, most likely due to just how difficult it is to enter the territory in the first place. This female, named Sugarplum, like other sauropods, spends most of her time eating. Plant material is very low in nutrients, and therefore large animals need a lot of it. But for a sauropod, a Saltosaurus is actually pretty small. And in a territory with large predators, that's a vulnerability.
Once again, we hear the music change, signaling the arrival of...
And no one wants to be vulnerable around the king.
Blue.
Luckily, without much more than a glance, Blue leaves. Perhaps he caught scent of a kill, or is simply in search of larger prey. But Blue is not one to be greedy, and Sugarplum leaves with her life. This next dinosaur is another uncommon one. Violet, a female Dilophosaurus, is one of the most elusive predators in the territory. Dilophosaurus are actually native to a completely different region of Mesozoic Isle. But similarly to Sugarplum, Violet has ended up in Hidden Valley.
I will say, in regards to figure choice, I'm not personally a big fan of the old Safari Dilo. I just, looks a bit, the teeth look a bit blocky and it's a bit shrink wrapped. It's just not my favourite representation of the genus.
A phenomenon known as migrational displacement. And despite being small compared to other carnivores, Hidden Valley's thick assortment of trees provides just enough cover for her to hide from larger predators. But that doesn't mean that they won't still try and kill her.
Dolly zoom.
It seems the Albertosaurus is still feeling short-winded after her fight with George, much to Violet's relief.
I will say the lighting wasn't that
But this goes
great
to show
in this scene.
just how much trouble a simple unannounced newcomer can cause.
Good foreshadowing.
Even more elusive still, nearly perfectly camouflaged into the trees and underbrush. Deep within the forest, he is virtually impossible to find. This is Manny, a Massospondylus, possibly the most elusive animal in all of Hidden Valley. He, like Violet, is one of a kind on this part of the island. He is even native to the same area. He may not look the part, but Massospondylus are what are known as prosauropods, early relatives of the massive long-necked dinosaurs. As they evolved, prosauropods' long necks would get even longer. Their arms would become front legs. Their feet would become round to support more weight. And their tails would become lengthy and formidable weapons. But Manny is still but a glimmer of that legendary design. And in this world, he is vulnerable. Even baby Redtooth could be seen as a threat. But we know better. For Manny, obscurity is his best and only true ally.
And she says that just as he fades away. That's great.
Little do they know, but for the residents of Hidden Valley, this was one of their last relatively normal days of life in the territory. The grim destiny of Hidden Valley approaches from far past even the furthest reaches of Mesozoic Isle. A bellowing beast, created by a distant and disregarded demon, charges for Mesozoic Isle.
There was a cow walking backwards there. Not really a big issue. But it is funny.
And all who inhabit it. The mighty dinosaurs once again are held at the mercy of the Great Mother's wrath. A massive freak storm smashes into Mesozoic Isle, resulting in explosive damage and casualties. But beyond nature's great show of power lies a more sinister fate. The greatest danger of this storm isn't the storm at all. It's what follows. A shift in the balance of ecosystems across Mesozoic Isle. Worst of all, Hidden Valley's own balance of power will be put to the test. When a mass influx of animals enter the territory. An ordeal only the fittest will survive.
And so that was Mesozoic Isle, Episode 1 by Kikizilla 101. Oh, I love this series. It's been a while since I've actually watched it properly, so I kind of forgot how much I liked it. Well, first off, let's just go through a couple of things real quick. So, the figure choice I think was overall very good. The only figures I didn't really like were Violet being the old Safari Dilo, and maybe George being the old Safari Gorgo, but they're not the worst figures ever. Manny's a Chinosaur, but I think he's an alright Chinosaur, so I think he gets away with it. The puppeting was very good. There were one or two shots, particularly with the Albertosaurus, where like both feet were lifting up at the same time, and it didn't look great. There was also a shot when Blue walks away from Sugar Plum. Again, you kind of get that. But overall, I'd say the puppeting was very good. Certainly way better than something like the older series of DI or like the majority of Dinotube shows, to be honest. Sound effects were bang on, or loads of footsteps and rustles and everything, loads of great detail. The sounds all fit the dinosaurs, like the calls and whatnot. Music was bang on, it always fit what was going on. It was really immersive. The pace of the story is a little slow, but I think it kind of needs to be because it's the first episode. It's meant to create this sense of kind of calm everyday life before everything goes pear-shaped the next episode. The backgrounds are beautiful up in the Rocky Mountains in America. Absolutely beautiful backgrounds. They weren't utilized to full extent, I think, in all the scenes. Like the Albertosaurus scenes in particular, I felt I wasn't particularly impressed by the scenery there. But the shots of the lake were great. I loved the scenery there. Lighting was also a bit of a problem in the Albertosaurus scenes in particular. Both of them. Both when she fights George and chases Violet. The lighting and the camera focus definitely sort of were a bit inconsistent. Which brings me to camera work, which was, again, pretty much great except in those two scenes. So overall, for a score, I think I'm going to give this a very strong 8 out of 10. I don't think it's quite as good as the first episode of IOTM Series 2, which I gave a 9 out of 10, so I'll give it an 8. So yeah, well done Kiki, you're an amazing creator. Thank you so much for inspiring me to make my own channel. I'm going to let the rest of the credits and the whole next time thing play, and then I'm going to end this video.
Next time on Mesozoic Isle, we catch up with the residents of Hidden Valley and discover the ones we haven't met yet. We watch in awe as they are introduced to their new guests and the surprises they bring with them. We'll observe how all of the animals of Hidden Valley will be put to the test. And maybe we'll catch a glimpse of who is fit enough to survive it.
With that, Scrubwood Studios signing out.